Welcome to the Win Streaks preview and prediction of all 32 NFL teams for the upcoming 2017 season. Over the next few weeks, I will be covering all 32 teams, so please subscribe on YouTube or the podcast platform you're listening on so you don't miss an episode. My name is Corey Foister. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Corey Foister. Follow the show on social media, Twitter at WinStreakNews, Facebook.com/TheWinStreak, TheWinStreak.com. Leave a review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're listening on. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Soaring Jets Production. If you're listening on YouTube right now, drop me a comment below. Contact us at soaringjetsproductions@gmail.com or thewinstreak.com/contact. Join our Fantasy Football League. You can find out more information about that on our social media page and official website. Top 10 Super Bowl matchup we want to see is our latest Top 10 episode. If this is the first time you've ever heard of the Win Streak, we do a weekly wrap-up show. Me and my co-host Brandon Myers, we cover college football, NFL, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer. We just have a really great time. It's a crazy show, so please check it out if this is the first time you've ever heard of the Win Streak. I'm on team number 32 here, the Green Bay Packers, in my preview and predictions series. This is Green Bay's 99th season in the NFL. Will be turning the big 100 next season. 12th season under head coach Mike McCarthy. General manager is Ted Thompson. The Packers in 2016 got off to a 4-6 start, but would go on to win 6 games in a row to finish the regular season 10-6. Good for first in the NFC North. Team clinched the NFC North for the 5th time in the last 6 years. The only other team to win it in the last 6 years was the Minnesota Vikings 2 years ago. When they beat the Lions in Week 17, the Packers would beat the New York Giants 38-13 in the wild card game and upset the Dallas Cowboys 34-31 in Jerry World in the divisional round. Falcons would blow out the Packers, though, in the NFC Championship game 21-44. The Packers had 4 Pro Bowlers in 2016. Packers ranked 18th or 8 in total offense, 22 in total defense. Like always, it's been well documented. The Green Bay Packers offense is great. The offense gets them to the playoffs. It's the defense that is keeping them out of another Super Bowl. They lost 4 road games, 2 home games, which highlights just how difficult it is to play in Lambeau Field. Packers are the 3rd oldest team in the NFL. Forbes ranks the Packers as the world's 26th most valuable sports franchise in 2016 at $2.35 billion. That's pretty good considering they're in a very small market. Packers have won 13 league championships, 4 Super Bowl victories, Super Bowl I, Super Bowl II, XXXI, and XLV. 9 conference championships, 18 division championships, and overall they've had 32 playoff appearances. My franchise what if for the Green Bay Packers is what if Aaron Rodgers hadn't fallen all the way to number 24 overall in the 2005 NFL Draft. You would have probably got somebody like Alex Smith to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Who would be the quarterback of the Packers today? Brett Favre would have never went to the Jets and the Vikings, so the Packers would have avoided that awkward divorce with Brett Favre, but the franchise would have never had to deal with the messy divorce. But, like I mentioned before, Alex Smith probably would be quarterback of the Packers right now, unless they would have went out and got another quarterback before the season. Wouldn't be as successful as they are today. No offense to Alex Smith. There's no way that Brett Favre would still be playing in the league today, but gosh, just imagine that the Packers got extremely lucky having Aaron Rodgers fall right into their lap. That was really the Packers franchise, because I can't really think of anything. Usually when I do franchise what if, it's always like, what if you could have won a Super Bowl, could have done this, be a better franchise. But the Packers have been extremely lucky. They're one of the more lucky franchises in the NFL. It just, they need to get a little bit luck when it comes to rebuilding that defense. 2017 outlook for the Green Bay Packers. 7 years ago, the Packers barely made it into the playoffs. They went on the road for 3 playoff games and would end up winning Super Bowl back XLV. Since then, the Packers have rarely had to struggle to get into the playoffs, but they haven't been able to get back to the Super Bowl. They came close last season, losing to the Falcons in the NFC Championship. Packers have had a lot of blown opportunities at returning to the Super Bowl. The one that comes to mind for me is the 2011 Green Bay Packers. 15-1. That team was 15-1. Only lost one regular season game, but the team would go on to lose to the red hot New York Giants that would go on to win the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. That was a really bad blown opportunity by the Green Bay Packers. The 2015 or the 2011, my bad, 2011 Green Bay Packers are one of the best teams that never won a Super Bowl. Packers are up there. The Falcons from last year are up there. But that was a really blown missed opportunity to go 15-1 and get booted by the New York Giants and not go to a Super Bowl. The Packers this year once again sit near the top of the NFC and the NFL in general. 2 NFC title games appearances in the last 3 years highlights how close they've been to another Super Bowl title. Biggest positive change for me, Ted Thompson hasn't signed many free agents over the years, and when tight end Jared Cook made a cash grab, he was not afraid to cut Cook. Thompson turned the page and signed Martellus Bennett. Packers are smart not to overpay. That's why the Packers are good. They do not spend. There's so many teams out there in the NFL that overpay for good talent. But the thing is, it's not just a one person. It's not like basketball that if you have LeBron James, you can go far into the playoffs. You need a lot of good players, and the Packers are good about keeping the really good talent, but the ones that you can replace don't overpay. And that's why the Packers are good. That's why the Patriots are good, because they're winning championships. They're in the playoffs every year, and guess what? They're not at the very top of cap space being spent. It's not about spending the most. It's about how you spend it. The top payroll doesn't always win championships, and most teams that don't place themselves in cap space hell. So I like teams that don't place themselves in cap space hell. Bennett is not only cheaper, but probably also an upgrade for the Packers. Biggest negative change for me, Pro Bowl guard J.J. Lang signed with the Lions in free agency. Sucks to lose talent, but stings more when you lose it to a divisional rival. Packers dumped Josh Sitton, and he landed with the Chicago Bears. The Packers' offensive line and defense worries me. It has been the Packers' downfall the last few seasons and why the Packers haven't been back to the Super Bowl. The Packers are the favorite in a weak NFC North. The Bears are hot garbage. The Vikings are a major question mark. Who knows who's going to start at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Both of them could get injured because Sam Bradford has a history of injuries, and Teddy Bridgewater, who really knows how he's going to bounce back from that awful injury. Only the Lions represent any challenge that the Packers will have at winning another NFC North title. Mike McCarthy catches some heat with Packer fans, but it's hard to see McCarthy getting fired unless dumb coaching decision costs them wins and a chance at making the playoffs. McCarthy wouldn't struggle to find another job in the NFL if the Packers would fire him, and I believe that the Packers would struggle to find an upgrade because I personally like McCarthy. I think McCarthy's kind of like Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he catches a lot of heat, but you'll never get rid of him because look at what all they've done for both of their franchises. They've done a lot. They both have they're not even close to being 500 on their coaching record. So I like McCarthy and Tomlin. Are they the best? No, Bill Belichick's the best, but you're not getting Bill Belichick. So I say he's the best alternative. The only one else out there I would maybe trade McCarthy for is Harbaugh, but I think Harbaugh is pretty much happy in Michigan, at least for now. Preseason schedule: home for the Eagles, at Washington to play the Redskins, at Denver to play the Broncos, and then back home to play the LA Rams. Moving to the Packers regular season game by game prediction. If you are a Packer fan, the Packers have 5 primetime games this season, so you have to be happy about that. At Atlanta on Sunday Night Football, Bears on Thursday Night Football, Lions on Monday Night Football, at Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a really good game, by the way. And Vikings on Sunday Night Football. So 5 primetime games for the Green Bay Packers. As always, I do worst case scenario, best case scenario. We'll go through the schedule here. Starting September 10th, you open up at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Worst case scenario, the Seahawks beat you, but best case scenario, it's really hard to play in Green Bay. You're not playing in Seattle in that loud stadium, and I think that the Green Bay Packers, when it's all said and done, will beat the Seattle Seahawks. September 17th, at Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Falcons are going to start either their downward trend, Super Bowl loss hangover, or they're going to go on a revenge tour, kind of like what Tom Brady went on last season after he was suspended the first 4 games, and I could see either one happening. So I'm going to lean that the Falcons are going to go on a revenge tour and totally kick a lot of butt. So I say that's worst case, best case going to be a loss for the Packers. The Packers last year struggled on the road. They were a better home team. I say the Packers have a better chance at winning more at home than on the road, but you could say that about almost any team in the NFL. September 24th, home for the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals, I think they're going to bounce back. They're going to be better this year, but the Packers are going to beat the Bengals because it's in Green Bay. And they got a lot of rookies. They're going to have to get used to playing in the NFL. And the Packers, right from the start, is going to be just brutal. And Andy Dalton, just in big games against playoff teams like the Packers, he doesn't show up. I mean, the only way this would be worse for the Bengals if this was in prime time, because Andy Dalton just completely folds in prime time. September 28th, home again for the Chicago Bears. I say that's definitely a win. Like I said, maybe I'm being too hard on the Chicago Bears, but I think the Chicago Bears are going to be one of the top 5 worst teams in the NFL this year. So going into October, at worst you are 2-2, at best you are 3-1. October 8th, at Dallas to play the Cowboys. Worst case scenario, you lose this game. Maybe they get Elliott back. He's right now he's appealing the suspension. It's not 6 games, maybe it's only 4. He's able to come back and play the Green Bay Packers. I think Dak Prescott or Elliott, or maybe even both of them, have a sophomore slump. I just think Dallas Cowboys have had probably the worst offseason out of any team out there, especially a team that's pegged to go back into the playoffs. Uh, they've had a really rough preseason, and I think that's going to carry over for the season. So I actually say best case scenario, you should beat the Dallas Cowboys. I'll go with the Packers over the Cowboys in this game. October 15th, at Minnesota. Worst case, you lose this game, but best case scenario, you beat the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are harder to play at home in that new stadium. It really depends. Is Sam Bradford going to be the head coach, or not the head coach, the starting quarterback, or is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Who knows? Speaking of head coach, though, Mike Zimmer, if his eye problem flares back up, there's a lot of questions with the Minnesota Vikings, so I'll go with the Packers in that game also. October 22nd, home for the Saints. The Saints are a beast in that dome for the most part, but on the road, I just don't buy that the New Orleans Saints have any chance against the Green Bay Packers, basically because that defense for the New Orleans Saints is awful. Just completely awful. And that's what's holding Drew Brees from making it back into the playoffs. And then you have a bye to end October. So You go into November. At worst, you are 3-4. At best, you are 6-1. November 6th, home for the Lions. I say that's definitely a win. It's been well documented. The Detroit Lions struggle. They just can't win at Green Bay. November 12th at Chicago. Once again, I say that's a win. Worst case, best case scenario. Just because the Bears, I'm just not buying it. Even if Trubisky turns out to be pretty good, he has nobody to throw the ball to. They got rid of one of their best wide receivers in the offseason. They have no defense. I'm just not buying the Chicago Bears. I say the Chicago Bears by this point, by November 12th, they'll be getting ready to fire John Fox because John Fox in Chicago has just been a complete nightmare, just a complete disaster. November 19th, home for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not buying that Joe Flacco is going to play all 16 games. If his problem flares up and he can't play in Green Bay, there's no chance in hell that the Ravens are going to win this game. Though the Ravens defense could give Aaron Rodgers a little bit of a headache, I still think when it's all said and done, Aaron Rodgers will beat the Baltimore Ravens. November 26th at Pittsburgh. That's going to be a really tough game. I just don't see the Packers beating the Steelers at home. But if anybody's going to beat the Steelers at Pittsburgh, the Packers have a great chance at doing it out of the 8 teams that have to go and play in Pittsburgh this season. So you end November at worst 6-5. At best, you are 9-2. December 3rd, Tampa Bay Buccaneers come to Green Bay. You can't go 8-0. You can't be perfect at home. I say you'll at least lose 1 or 2 games, and I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game will be one of them. I know it's a Florida team coming into Wisconsin in December. It's going to be cold. It's always a little bit harder for those teams to play in such cold weather, especially in Green Bay. But I'll give the edge to Tampa Bay here. I really think Tampa Bay is going to make a big step forward. I think they could possibly win the NFC North or NFC South, I should say, this season. December 10th at Cleveland. That's definitely a win. I believe the Cleveland Browns are going to be a lot better this season, but not good enough to beat the Green Bay Packers. December 17th at Carolina to play the Panthers. It's 2 road games in a row. I like the Panthers just a little bit. I think the Panthers are going to definitely bounce back. They had a really awful season last year. They're going to bounce back. I just think the Packers will lose this game. December 23rd, Minnesota Vikings at home. That's a win. And December 31st at Detroit, I also think worst case, best case scenario, the Packers will win that game as well. And the Packers, I believe, will win the NFC North. I don't think the Lions have enough in them to leapfrog over the Packers. The Packers would pretty much have to give that division away and just struggle like they did at the early part of last season. So my best case scenario for the Green Bay Packers in 2017 is 12-4. My worst case scenario is 9-7. My final prediction is 12-4. I'll go best case scenario. I won't bet against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you could honestly say, is the best quarterback in the NFL. Tom Brady's done more, but Aaron Rodgers has done a lot as well. Packers got off to a weak start last year and went 10-6. Packers' schedule looked good for them this season. I mean, they went 10-6 after a pretty ugly start. So I got to go 12-4 because if the Packers don't get off to an ugly start, then I say hell they'll at least get to 10-6. So unless they just for some odd reason struggle there, I say definitely 12-4. Only tough games I really see for the Packers is the Seahawks, the Falcons. But if they start off the season 2-0, then I say they're almost a lock for 12-4 or 13-3 because the Seahawks and the Falcons, their hardest part of the schedule is week 1 and week 2. And then the Bengals, they'll give a little bit of a they won't be like the Bears, but they'll be a lot easier than the Falcons and the Seahawks to beat. Cowboys, so you got Falcons, Seahawks, Dallas. I'll throw the Bengals in there also. Maybe the Lions in Detroit at the end of the year. the Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I believe in the end the Packers are going to win the majority of those games. And then you look, you got 2 against the Bears, that's easy. You got the Saints, you got the Vikings, you got the Ravens, you got the um, you got the Browns also. So there's a lot of chance. I don't see how the Packers finish under 9-7. And also the Pittsburgh Steelers game, I forgot to mention that. That's going to be a tough game as well. But I would be completely shocked if the Green Bay Packers are not only division champions, but not back in the playoffs and at least to divisional round, maybe back to the NFC Championship. It basically depends on that defense because we know Aaron Rodgers is going to be good. It just can that defense hold its own and hold up its side of the bargain to get to a Super Bowl. But once again, my name is Corey Foister. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Corey Foister. Follow the show on social media, Twitter at WinStreak News, Facebook.com/TheWinStreak, TheWinStreak.com. Leave a review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're listening on. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Soaring Jets Production. If you're listening on YouTube right now, drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think the Packers' record is going to be this year. Contact us at either thewinstreak.com/contact or soaringjetsproductions@gmail.com. On our weekly show, we read listener mail, so if you want to ask us a question, please do, and you can hear it on air. Join our fantasy football league. You can find out more information about that on our social media page. Top 10 Super Bowl matchups we want to see is now live. And once again, please check out our regular weekly show, The Win Streak. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, it's on YouTube. So please check it out. Until next time, go Pack Go, and keep winning, everybody.